Lisbon is an amazing city, but it also has its challenges.
No matter where you are, right? Like you're still black and you get treated a certain way as a result of that.
If we do nothing, where is that end result?
Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. And if you feel demotivated because someone said that, just go for it.
Hello everyone, my name is Sami Hraketi and I am the co-founder of Entrepreneurs of Color.
Hi, my name is Otito Dosumu. I'm also one of the co-founders of Entrepreneurs of Color. Entrepreneurs of Color is a community of entrepreneurs who identify as Black, Brown, or Asian, and who are looking to build the next set of innovations in the world. And our community is trying to support them by organizing meetups and trying to connect them with investors.
Hello, my friends. Okay, this is going to be great for me because I always say I know people, but I don't know people. I mean, I know Odish, which is really good. I go, but Sami, I don't know too well, other than the fact that we're all in the same community. So full disclosure, I know these two guys because of an amazing accelerator, BGI Portugal. And I've spent a lot of time with them. I've worked with them. And these two guys decided to come up with a brand new way of embracing a community in their own way. And so the second you guys started doing something, I was like so excited for you and I want to support you. But before we even talk about the something that you guys created, let's talk about who you are as people, because people cannot understand a business, a service, anything unless they understand the backgrounds of the individuals, the humans that are behind it. So let's start with, let's see, who wants to start first in regards of, I always say, let's just start from where you were born all the way to university. And so who wants to start first? And then we'll pause. And if I have questions, I'm definitely going to chime in because I always hear something that is always intriguing to me. But who wants to go first?
Sure, I can go. So yes, I was born and grew up in Tunisia, in the capital city of Tunisia. I spent all my life here. I played sports here. I grew up here with all my friends. And then I studied multimedia communication, and then in bachelor degree, and then I studied data science in master degrees.
Well, you know, that was a really, really short version. I mean, we're going to be here for a little bit talking, which is great. So you just kind of expedited. So do you have siblings? You have mom and dad? I mean, what do your parents do? I guess this is a conversation. This is not like I go, let's just like speed through this. I mean, we're going to talk.
Be efficient, that's why. Yes, I grew up with the best family of all time. I had two siblings, two lovely mom and a dad. They are the best people I know. I grew up with a lot of love, a lot of care in a neighborhood where I cannot say that it's the best. I spent all my life in Tunis, Tunisia. The first time I ever traveled was to go to Portugal in 2019. That was the first time I ever saw an airplane in flesh. I went there and I was surprised. Yes, I will go there in a minute. In Tunisia, I played handball for 10 years of my life.
Did you just say you played handball?
Handball, yes, for 10 years of my life in a very good team. Actually, I won almost 14 titles. Like
handball, as in like with my hand.
With your hand, yes.
So this is like a huge sport where for 10 years you dedicated. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is something where it's like I'm like handball. I mean, so why is handball so popular in Tunisia, right? Pronouncing it right?
Yes.
Why is it so popular?
Well, since the 80s, we had a very good national team. We went in the World Cup. We were like once fourth and once second in the world. It's sport that it doesn't account on money a lot, so people can play it without spending a lot of money. So it's very popular. So we have football, handball, and then volleyball. I would say like those are the three main sports.
And when we say football, we always have to sit there and say not American football, but soccer. So that way, so I always have to like clarify. So whenever I'm talking with someone international, I always have to say not American football, it's soccer, but it is. I get it. It's football in Haiti. It's football. But I always want to put that out there. Interesting, like the handball. So what did your parents do?
My dad was an employee in the water service company. My mom never worked. And they like I say that they are the best people I know because the amount of love they gave to me and my siblings is enormous. We didn't have much, like money-wise, but we had a lot of love, and that's way more. Like I always felt like I'm super rich without having any money, and that's the kind of thing that I want to talk about here because it's really important to me. That's what if I want to talk about who I am, I have to talk about those 4 people that I grew up with, and they are amazing people. Yeah.
And you said you have a sister?
I have a sister who has now 2 kids, 4 and 3 years old, and a brother who is single, always like single. And yeah, that's who we are.
Just want you to know, when he watches this and he sees that you say like, oh, always single, he may be hurt by that. Just want you to be very clear.
He will laugh.
And when you graduated, so remind me again, when you graduated from university, what was the degree?
Yes, so I took a bachelor degree in communication and multimedia communication, and then I took 1 year off. I worked. I was trying to find jobs, and I was not able to. Then I went back to school. I studied data science for the master degree, and then I worked in Tunisia, and then I left. I worked for 6 months, and then I left.
And where, I mean, what was that moment that you were propelled to go to communications and then data analysis? Because I mean, was it in your family? Is there someone that actually said like, this is the way to go? What was it that really just like got your attention that this is exactly where I'd like to sit there and like go into for a long period of time in my professionalism?
Well, to be honest, it goes way back before that, because I think when I was like 13, 12, I loved cartoons. So my dream was to create cartoon when I'm older. So I wanted to study like later in life, something that will get me there. So when I went to university, I wanted to study how to make cartoon, like drawing and designing and stuff like that. And that's what I studied bachelor degree. But unfortunately, in Tunisia, I saw that it's not a good field to make your future on, to base your future on. And I took 1 year off, and I heard a lot of no's, like to like apply for a job, and they'd be like, no, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. So I was like, okay, I'll go to study data science. It's a field that it's like, I'm not in love with it, but it's something that there is more chances to find jobs with it, more than with the graphic design or whatever it is, multimedia communication. So I went there, but the dream is to go to make movies or cartoons since I was a child. That was my dream. So that's why I changed, just because I felt here, okay, there is more future. Maybe I need to drift, but I'll go back later to the thing that I want to do.
And so you ended up being at BGI, which is an accelerator in Portugal. How and what was that decision point in regards of I'm going to leave the country that I love, my family that I adore, they adore me, but yet I'm going to leave it? Was it, I always sit there and say it's either education, love, or job that brings someone to another country. Because when you're comfortable with what you have, why would you want to leave?
Well, those 3 reasons are why I left. Because I was trying to leave Tunisia since 2015. I was trying to find jobs, to find opportunities in general since 2015. So from 2015 to 2019, I applied for 130 internship opportunities with Isaac, and everyone said no to me.
113.
Yes.
That's absolutely insane. 113.
Yes, and everyone said no to me. You're not good enough. And then I applied for visas everywhere. Everyone said no, you're not good enough. I applied for schools. Everyone said no, you're not good enough. But I believed in myself. Like I was like, no, I know that I'm good enough. I'm gonna keep applying. I'm gonna do it. I went back to school. I will improve my skills. Maybe my skills are not good enough. That still till this day that can be possible. But the no, like I got used to the no. I always expect people to say no to me. So I'll be like, okay, it's no, but I'm gonna keep working. I will improve until I get the yes. And eventually in 2019, I was given big chance by the lovely, amazing Sophia Fernandes. Shout out to Sophia Fernandes. She gave me the yes, and I went to BGI. The first week I went to BGI, I met you actually. That was my first week when I went to BGI. I was trying my best to impress them, and luckily maybe I did. So I stayed with BGI. Yeah.
Oh my God, we're gonna continue to hearing about the no's, but now we're gonna sit there and we want to hear Odish's like, where did you start? Where did you begin? And basically, once we get to the BGI, then we'll sit there and spread out into what you guys are doing now. But Odish, tell me your story, even though I know it, but tell the community, tell the listeners, tell the watchers your story.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm originally from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, in a city not far away from Lagos. I know everybody knows Lagos, but in a city not far from Lagos called Ibadan. And I have two siblings. So fun fact about my family is that everybody is in the medical field. So both of my parents are dentists. My sister is also a dentist. My other sister is like a sociologist, well, not in the health field, but she also worked as a dental surgery assistant for a while. So I was the exception to the case, and I was like, no, I don't want to study and do anything medicine. So I decided to go into the field of engineering, but I was told I was bad at maths, so I had to move to, and I was literally kicked out of science class, and I had to go to like social science class, and I fell in love with economics. I decided to build a career on economics. So I studied in the University of Ibadan, which is the city that I grew up in. I studied economics there, but I wanted to have, I just wanted more because I understood that to get better job opportunities, you needed to get better educational qualifications. At least that's what we were, at least in the Nigerian system, that's how we imagined it was going to be like for you to get a better job. So I decided to get a master's degree, not exactly in economics, but I specialized in the kind of economics, which was energy, environmental technology, and economics. And then after I finished that, I also worked a little bit much more. And I decided that I wanted a PhD because after I finished my master's degree, I had a good job, but for the level of experience that I had and the qualification I had, I wasn't earning enough. I was actually earning actually ridiculously low for the amount of experience that I had. So I thought it would be best for me to get another degree as well. And I decided to get a PhD degree in economics. So I'm currently still trying to finish that degree. While I was doing that, I understood that I didn't want to be working academics. I understood that I wanted to be in industry, and I wanted to sort of form some sort of bridge between academics and industry. And I decided to apply for jobs as soon as I came to Portugal. So while I was trying to apply for my PhD degree, Portugal accidentally was one of the countries that I looked into to apply, and I applied, and luckily I got into one of the universities here in Portugal. And while studying, I decided
wait, we're gonna stop, because couple of things that you said, actually a few things that you said, which of course, one of them I'm gonna start backwards. So accidentally I got into Portugal. What do you mean accidentally? Like, I mean, most people apply to schools and they know what they're applying to, but what?
Yeah, I never planned to come to Portugal. Like, I always tell people that the only thing we knew about Portugal was Cristiano Ronaldo from Nigeria, from the football. I never knew Portugal. I was also very, very naive. I imagined Portugal was like a Latin country, so I never really even knew that it was a European country. And I really didn't know anything about Portugal. And I was applying for several PhD schools. And like Sami, I applied for several. And if you know how PhD applications are, it takes like all your time, all your money. And I remember I had this work colleague who knew that I'd been applying, I'd been getting rejections. And I remember that at that point in time, I had used up all my finances to pay for different applications. At that point in time, the only money I had was just money in my car. At that point in time, and I had to borrow money to pay for the application for my mom, to pay for the application for the PhD school. And it was just a colleague that was just telling me that, oh, I see you've been applying for different schools and you've been getting rejected. Oh, my friend went to this university in Portugal. You should check it out. It might be really, really cool. So I just Googled the school. I checked what their research was focused on. I was like, okay, this sort of aligns with me. I'm going to shoot my shots. And I was like, if I should apply for this particular school and I don't get in, this will be the last PhD. I'm just going to figure out what I'm going to do in Nigeria, maybe change jobs or try to figure out some other source of income and things like that. And then I applied, and 2 days later on, I got like 2 days later on, I got like an admission offer. But after having gotten the admission that fast, I thought I didn't want to open the email because I thought my application must have been so shit. Sorry, I hope I'm not supposed to say that. Must have been so bad.
You know what? I allow people to say, you can say shit. You can't say the F one. I get really upset about that one because there's no need for that at all. So I just want you to know, like, you're okay with that one. You're good. You're safe.
So I thought my application would have been so bad that they just sent me an email quickly. I'm like, bro, don't even bother. Like, your application is so bad. Like, and then I didn't open the email for like 3-4 days. I just saw it kept on sending in my email, and I got in. And funny thing is that the guy who told me about to apply for the PhD program, I think he got released from the company like a week later on. After I applied, after I got into he got released after. So he almost just felt his purpose in the company was just to tell me about coming to Portugal, and then he just left. I really don't even know where this guy is right now in the world, and it's just so. And it took me another 2 years before I actually stepped into Portugal, because for some strange reason, visas that should have taken about maybe like 2 months or 3 months, but in my own case, it took almost 2 years before I actually even got my visa. So I quit my job. I moved to another city away from my family. So I was 2 years doing other things rather than following what I wanted to do. So 2 years after I applied, I finally got into Portugal, started a PhD. And when I got into Portugal, it was now a whole process where I was doing the PhD, but I also understood that I needed to get a job. And then I started to look for jobs, which is another story for another time. I don't know if you have enough time for that.
Oh, no, we have time. Don't you worry about it. We have time.
So basically, I was this immigrant here in Portugal with so much work experience. I had worked for some great people in Nigeria. I had worked for the president at one point in time. I had worked for a consulting firm. I had a master's degree. I had a good degree from one of the top universities in Nigeria. I had a master's degree from one of the top universities in the UK. And I found myself in Portugal trying to find a job, and it was so hard. And I remember at some point in time, I had to print my resumes, wear a suit, and basically hand out my resume on the streets of Lisbon. And I remember walking up to even some places, and they'll be like, you're too qualified or you're overqualified. And then I literally was knocking down. I would work to companies like EY, for example. And I'm like, I'm here to see the HR, wear my suits every morning. And they'll be like, who is this guy? And I'm like, do you have a job opening? I'm here to see the HR. So I did that for like a couple of months. And then I saw on my university's Instagram page, they had this post of, do you speak English? Yes. Do you like entrepreneurship? Yes. Do you like investments? I was like, yeah. Are you currently a student? I was like, okay, I sort of check all of these marks. And then it was like for an internship with BGI. And then when I walked in, I wore my suit as I usually did. And I walked there and I saw Sofia Fernandez, and we had like a brief chat. And before I even got home, I got an email from her saying, do you want a job? But you have a PhD, you work for the president. Do you really want to get an internship without, and then the pay wasn't, for an internship pay was nothing compared to the level of experience that I have. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to do it. Like, it's okay, it's better than doing nothing. And then I built a career, and I was there for 5 years. And that's where I met Sami as well.
Okay, wait. No, we're going to pause. Before I ask the question that I clearly see from both of you, I'm definitely going to what did your parents think when you said, I'm not going into the family industry where everybody was a dentist? And all of a sudden and again, international families, as we all know, doctor, lawyer, engineer, and now tech. So that is the way that most families, international families, they feel like they've done well, where I produced a child and one of them or all of them are going to become a doctor or lawyer or engineer. Okay, so what did your parents think when you decided, yeah, this is not my way?
Yeah, so I think for me, my parents were a little bit open, and that's because I had a very amazing uncle who was my mom's senior brother. He had built a career, he studied economics as well, and at some point in time, he decided to head a bank in Nigeria, one of the biggest banks at that time in Nigeria. So for them, they sort of understood that there was a career path in studying courses like economics, even though originally I was from engineering. But when I saw that, I was like, I really, even though I got kicked out of science class, I saw there was an opportunity to actually build a significant career, and when you come from countries like Nigeria, it's really important for you to have a lot of financial stability. So my parents understood that, yes, if this is a pathway for me to get financial stability, even perhaps beyond what they could do, that would be an okay decision to do. So I decided to settle with going with economics. And it turns out that I wasn't that bad in maths. I just had bad teachers, because I actually have to be doing engineering maths right now at the PhD level, at the master's level, even in economics as well. So the things that they said I was bad at, I was actually really good at it. But I'm really grateful that I took this path, because it has opened new doors, new opportunities for me, where I get to support amazing entrepreneurs as a result of my experience in this particular field.
And what does the family think of you and what you're doing right now? Like, the great thing is, I always wonder if, like, who in the family basically got you to, like, think differently. But now, what do they think of you now in regards of what you've accomplished from the point where you're like, I'm not going to be a dentist, to the point where all the positions and all the people that you've engaged with and where you are right now and what you want to do?
So if I'm honest with you, my mom still doesn't understand what I do. My parents don't understand what I do. I don't even think my sisters really do understand. They just know that he works with startups or works with companies. Every time my mom calls me and she'll be like, so tell me, what is it again? You do entrepreneurship. You're like in the entrepreneurship space, you're in the investment space. I'm like, yeah. So I've never really had time to explain to how venture capital is, how it's like a different kind of financing, and then even trying to explain venture capital to her, it's like all she doesn't know is okay, there's investments, and we know investment has difference, it's a spectrum, right? So I don't even get started with Startup Accelerator. That's like a different level, but she just understands I'm in entrepreneurship. So she doesn't exactly really know the details of what I do. She just knows that I work with entrepreneurship. She knows I have worked for certain kinds of companies, consulting. So she has a general idea. So they don't really know. But I think the important thing for them is just that they know that, okay, I think they've come to realize that I'm really passionate about what I do, and they understood that I'm somebody that once I make my decision on certain things, I just keep on going. And I think they made their peace a long time, because I have moved, I've lived in the UK, I lived in Portugal, so I think my parents have just understood that he's an explorer, he's just going to do whatever he wants to do. We can really just give him the sort of the infrastructure, the resources. And I guess they're also happy that I have a PhD, so at least they could also call me a doctor in the house. So at least that also sort of makes it a little bit better for them, that okay, yeah, at least he has a PhD. We don't really care what he's doing, but at least we can say he's also a doctor in the family as well. So that helps a lot.
My mother, when I went to business school, my mother's like, I remember the day where I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. This is so much work. And she's like, well, why don't you quit? I'm like, what? Quitting is not an option. Like, what do you mean quitting is an option? She's like, well, you said it's hard. I'm like, get dad on the phone. And I was just like, I had enough of her. I was so mad. I was tired. I was frustrated. I was mad at her. But then she started watching Shark Tank. And then one day she called, she's like, Jo, I know what you do now. I'm like, really? Because I've been trying to explain to you for quite some time what I do. Yeah. And she watches one show and she's like, oh, and then she tells all the relatives, she does marketing. It's like Shark Tank. And I'm like, oh, I go, you know what? Whatever works for my mom. I'm happy that she can actually get excited about now, and she understands how I'm helping people. So we take the wins where we can get our wins. The two of you guys just described how the support of your family, which is huge. I mean, if you don't have the support of your family, or at least support of someone, it makes your task of what you're trying to do so much harder. And because you're already second guessing yourself every single day. But now, if you don't have that support, it's even worse. But what is so clear for both of you was the no factor. You guys heard no, not just once, not just twice, but hundreds of times. Can you guys just both talk about what kept you going? Because in the world of startups, in the world of small business owners, we hear no's constantly, and we always have to pick ourselves up. But honestly, when you hear hundreds of no's, how did you find a way to keep yourself going after? I mean, this is insane for me, the numbers of no's that you're getting. I mean, mind you, for guys, I know you guys are used to it. A girl says, you go up to a girl, okay, or you go up to whomever you want to be with, and you can get rejected on a daily. So I know that's part of your DNA already. But when it comes to your job, I mean, your professionalism, and you have the skill sets, and then people are still not seeing the confidence in you, what kept you going? Because for anyone that's listening to you right now, they hear one or two no's and they're out. They're like, all right, I'm going back to the regular world. I'm going to get a job, etc. What kept you motivated? What kept you going? What kept you keeping all the naysayers at bay?
Maybe Sami, you can go first.
Sure thing. Well, for me, the first thing that is, as I said, I played handball for 10 years. That was the dream, to become professional handball. And I think I was good enough at least. But then they said, you're not good enough. And that was when I was 17, 18 years old. But when they said, no, you're not good enough, in my mind, I was like, no, I'm actually good enough, but there is some corruption here and I don't care about this. I'm just going to believe in myself. I don't want this, nonsense. I'm just going to leave and go find my passion somewhere else. And then I started going to the field of graphic design and multimedia, and I studied for 3 years. I had good 3 years of bachelor degree. And then when I start applying for jobs, I go to job interview and he says, okay, I'm going to give you zero money. You're going to work for us for free. for 3 months as a trial, and then we might like you, might not. But if we like you, we're gonna pay 40 euros per month. That was the amount of money they're gonna pay me. But I was like, no, this is not good enough for me. Like I know who I am. I believe in myself. I know what my skills are. I'm gonna go learn more skills and then come back to the same place and try again. If I'm not good enough, I'm just gonna go and learn again. That's what I believe in, because I believe in my improvement. I know that I'm not good enough. I already know that. I already know that I'm gonna hear the no, but I will find why they said no to me and improve it and go back. So there is the believe in yourself, because no one else will believe in you. I'm not gonna fail no matter what will happen. Like, this is not the life that I'm gonna live. I'm not gonna quit. Like, quitting is not an option at all for me, because where I come from, everyone is like, I don't want to say it, but everyone is actually quitting. Like, most of my friends, my childhood friends, I don't see them like growing up in life. But that's not what I want for myself. And also, I want to give better life for my family, the people that gave me all the support when I was young. So they are the actual motivation for me, that I want to give them better life. So the no is never an option. So I just hear the no 130 times, as I said, go learn why they said no. I'm going to improve that skill, go back again, apply. And actually in the 131 time, they said yes. So eventually they said yes. Like, of course, okay, it took a lot of time, 4 years, but eventually there was a yes. So now I'll keep applying. I'm not applying for jobs, but I'll keep trying, and they're gonna keep saying no. I know already. People say no to me. You're not good enough. I'm gonna keep learning until they say yes. I mean, that's how it's gonna work.
Just out of curiosity, are all that, so what's the number, 100 and what?
130.
All right, 130 from the same company, or how many companies of the 130?
It's Isaac. Like, it's an association for students to go have internship abroad. I applied for many companies and all over the world. Believe me, like every place in the world, like USA, Canada, Germany, you name it. I applied there. They said no. I applied for visas for different reasons in Canada and US. And they said no. I applied for universities in Norway. They said no. You're not good enough. I applied for jobs in Tunisia. They said no. You're not good enough. I just kept going, coming back. And the motivation is that, okay, if I'm not good enough, I will become good enough. Like, that's how it is. I'm not gonna quit. Of course, no one is good enough at first, but if you keep learning, if you keep accepting the no, and then take that bad energy and change it to good energy, it will work eventually. I mean, that's
amazing. Amazing. Odish, how did you survive all the no's? I mean, you the same, where you had so many individuals telling you no, in so many different situations as well, and especially like if you get into a school in Portugal and then you still have to wait 2 years to come to get here. How did you get past that no? I mean, and what can people learn from you in regards of turning the no into a positive yes?
Yeah, so if I'm really honest with you, I would say it has not always been easy to receive no's. Like Sami has a number of 100. I would say my number is around there or even higher as well. Even when I was applying for jobs, while after my master's degree, and even for the amount of schools that I applied for, and even when I got here to look for jobs as well. So like I said, I literally think about it. If you look at my resume, it's actually not that bad. But I had literally had to be walking on the streets with these suits. I even applied to Burger King at some point in time. They didn't even call me back because they were like, and I was like, this is with a master's degree. I can really flip that burger, and sometimes really demoralizing to hear those no's, even though you're good at it, you're good at what you do, even though you're passionate. And to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a special recipe to move past those things, but I'd say one thing that resonates with Sami is that sometimes where we are coming from is almost like an option not to quit, because it's either you survive or you die. My parents have done pretty well for themselves, but but the way my country is set up in Nigeria, sometimes if you don't have certain resources, you're just going to really suffer sometimes, and I guess it's also very similar in many places. If you don't have a good enough job, you're just going to just barely have enough just to live. And I don't want to be in a position whereby, I can't provide for myself, or if my family gets sick, and you have to be in this kind of situation. It's really, really scary. And I would say in some sort of way that really pushes me just to want to do more. Also, I guess another thing that also pushes me is just that I think for many for most part of my life, I've always seen myself like an underdog in terms of like, I was always like the smallest in school. So I always had to always fight, to be acknowledged, And I guess that's one of the things that just pushes me to just keep on, because I'm like, I can't keep on being the smallest, in every area of my life. I have to just keep on pushing and fighting till I am acknowledged for my work or something. And I guess that also drives me. So those moments where I feel really, really down, it's also a reminder. And I think the third thing is also the people that I've had around me. To be honest with you, I've had really an amazing supportive group. My parents, starting from my parents and my family, even when I'm down. I remember when I had to wait 2 years for my visa, which I would say was one of the most traumatizing experiences of my life, because that 2 years, there are many things that happened within that 2 years that have been really, really traumatizing for me during that 2 years waiting up for my visa, and my parents were really, really supportive. My friends were really, really supportive of me. I had really good friends who were always encouraging me, calling me, and I would say those group of people were really good set of people to keep me in the right frame of mind to keep on pushing, because I can't really imagine what I would have done. And like Sami said as well, we also grew up in a kind of society whereby, you have other alternatives to make money, which were not necessarily legal. And it's very, very tempting to pick up those other means. Very, very tempting, especially when you see those other people doing the illegal things, prospering, buying houses, buying cars, having families. And you are just here, say for example, with a master's degree, sleeping on my friend's mom's couch, and not knowing where my next money was going to come from, it's really, really hard. And when you see the outcome of those people who do those things, maybe they're either dead or, they're in jail or they're on the run, and you realize that, man, I don't have the guts to do that kind of lifestyle. So you just have to keep on pushing until something clicks. But I have to also, to whoever is listening, that I also have to be real in the sense that it really, really sucks. It's really, really depressing when you keep on hearing those no's, because some days I'm like, I'm not even sending application for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even a whole month, because I'm just tired of getting no's, but somehow I just kept on pushing. And I guess some things, at least there's always 1 year. So you just have to keep on, find the energy to keep on trying. Eventually, hopefully, one of them might work.
I commend you guys, because I've been in the same situation where I did everything right. I was a kid that my parents weren't sure what I was going to be. Not a doctor, not a lawyer, not an engineer. My family is like, that's all you're seeing in my family. I fell into the right place where I ended up being in the media. I worked in the media for 10 years. I worked for the government. I go just like you, just like everything was just right. And then it got to the point where I decided to go to school, get my MBA. Again, like I never thought I was going to go back to school, got my MBA. And then the 2008, 2009 recession happened. And that was my moment of, I had never applied for a job. I was always poached from one place to another. I did everything right. And yet then I was told I was overqualified, like you guys, overqualified, or you didn't have enough experience in certain things. And it was demoralizing. It was demoralizing. I literally had depleted my savings, because when I graduated from my MBA program, I was going to give myself a year to just like enjoy and then go back into the workforce. And then I had to put all my things in storage. I had to get rid of my apartment. I had to get rid of my car. I had to rent a small room in someone's house. I mean, it was literally demoralizing, walking to the bus station to take the bus to work. I mean, it was just like one of those moments where, but I did everything right. I did everything right. And people ask me all the time, when I'm on stages, when I'm giving speeches, they're like, what kept you going? I'm like, well, I was never told I couldn't succeed. So that was the thing for me. Like, I came from a family that never told me I could not succeed. And even though everything was like I had hit rock bottom after doing everything right, I just, in my mind, even the days when I was crying, the days that I couldn't sleep, the days that I go, I'm going to go to Costco's and eat all the little samples because I don't have enough food. So at least I can have something fun to eat if I go to all these little, these like little sampling things. Even during those times, I kept on thinking creatively of how to get out of that. So I love what you're saying. I hear it. I go, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs go through the same exact thing and we don't talk about it. And so this is just like a place where you could talk about it, you could share it. And someone that doesn't want to talk about it can hear it and say, like, I go, they're talking to me. They're talking to me, which is wonderful. You guys meet at BGI. So BGI Accelerator in Portugal, very well known, like literally in Europe, brings a lot of entrepreneurs that are just working so hard to change the world and understand that not only do you have a product or a service, but how to communicate it, how to get to the target audience, how to get investment. What did BGI do for you guys in regards of your mindset of what you're designing right now, or what you've designed, I should say?
So let me first start this, and I think it's really important for me to give a special shout out to Sofia Fernandez.
We are all singing the praises of Sofia. Sofia is loved by all three of us.
Yeah, so Sofia has a special place in my heart for one reason, because, like I said, I was very, very qualified before I applied for BGI, and I applied to so many other places, and they didn't give me a shot. And the truth is that someone like her in a position she didn't have to give me a shot, you understand, and but she was like, yeah, and obviously I look nothing like Sophia. We know there's always that pattern recognition when you always want to apply people that you are safe with, you understand, that you went to the same university as, and so on and so forth. And so literally she was hiring these African immigrants in this company, in this growing company. But and I think it's really important that and I think that's the first thing I learned, the fact that she was able to take a leap of faith, to trust us with certain things, and I believe that we didn't disappoint her or even disappoint the organizations while I was in BGI, right? So I think it's really important. I just want to encourage other allies, people who are too afraid to take the step to say, for example, hire people who are different. I think one thing about immigrants is that if they're in your country, trust me, they've been through a whole lot just to be there. And they definitely develop a lot of skill sets that will be really, really relevant to push your company to the next step. And it's really, really important to take that step of faith to work with immigrants, especially if they're high qualified. They're going to be they know about their stuff, and they'll be ready to do that. So I'm just putting that out there. So for BGI, one of the things that that really helped me in BGI in particular is that it sort of solidified what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I'd always known I was passionate about entrepreneurship. I had done things with the government. I had done things in consulting, in the economics and the finance area. And I've always had this dream. Back then, I remember when I was a kid, I used to have this, I wouldn't call them visions, but I used to have these imaginations of wanting to, own some sort of firm that would support entrepreneurs with money, but in addition to those money, help those companies to build that. I never even knew what, if there's anything if there's anything that existed like that. And as I grew up, I thought it was more investment banking. So I tried to apply for investment banking jobs. I tried to do consulting. So I sort of dabbled a little bit in all those kind of things, thinking that's what it was. But when I got into BGI, I understood the whole landscape of venture capital. It was the first time in my life that I realized that, okay, yeah, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly what I want to do. This is my imaginations coming through, where we support entrepreneurs with financing, but we also support them beyond financing. We literally help them to build their company from step A to step B. And I was in the middle of this, trying to do all of this. So he had a little bit of investment, he had a little bit of startup support, and I was like, this resonates with everything about me. And then I just loved it, and I realized that I changed everything about me. My PhD research, I completely changed it to focus on entrepreneurship, startups. So everything about my life right now is geared towards that, and because of the experience that I got into BGI. Also, I met amazing people. Like, for example, you are one of the people that has been a strong motivator for me throughout my process at BGI. Also, I met Sami. I met so many amazing colleagues in BGI, so many entrepreneurs who are friends with me to today, and who are willing to support me in my next journey. So I would say that's what working at BGI did for me. So maybe I pass to Sami.
Yeah, thank you, Otis. But for me, BGI changed my life, basically. That's what I can say, because I was in Tunisia working in a company for 6 months, and like I used to go home, and take me 2 hours by feet to go home. So every day I used to go in the seats and pray, please God, take me out of here. And that's where Sophia came, and she gave me a huge chance to go there. And then I went to BGI for 3 months of internship. I worked as hard as I can there. And then they offered me a work contract where I stayed now for almost 3 years now. and they really changed my life. Like I learned a lot from BGI. I learned a lot from Otis, who supported me a lot during my first few months at BGI. He gave me a lot of support. He showed me a lot of things. Also Sophia, of course, like shout out to Sophia again. Claudia, Gonzalo, Ricardo, all of them, like everyone is great at BGI. Also, they gave me the chance and the freedom to do a lot of stuff. Like in my work field, like I work with cameras, I work with websites, I work with graphic designs. So I had the chance to try a lot of things. I had the chance to work with a lot of startups that I met, a lot of great people. I met you as well, like as I said, like from the first weekend at BGI, we spoke. I don't know if you remember or not, but we spoke for 5 minutes and you gave me a lot of motivation. I was like, wow, this woman is great. And yeah, so the chance of meeting all those people till this day, like, is just amazing. And then I have to say, shout out to BGI for another thing, which is because when the COVID came, I had problems with the visa for 2 years and 3 months, and I was not able to see my family for 2 years and 3 months. And just right now, it was solved by the support of BGI. So thank you very much, guys. And now finally, I'm with my family after 2 years.
All right, so my shout out to Sophia. So BGI comes to Boston, has a relationship with MIT, has a relationship with Cambridge Innovation Center. And I remember just like getting an email from this woman that says, I'm from Portugal, from Accelerate from Portugal. I saw that you are speaking on marketing. I would love to meet with you. We met, we talked, we automatically liked each other. She's like, I would love to have you come to Portugal and be part of our workshop, our event, our accelerator that we do. And literally for 3 years, every summer came to Portugal. And it was just such the way that Sophia is perceived by the community is she walks on water. I mean, literally she walks on water in regards of the big heart, her kindness, genuine in every single way. She'll say it like it is. And one of the things I love the most, she works so hard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is insane. She works so hard, sometimes to her detriment of not taking care of herself. She works so hard. And she had all these qualities that I just love in people. The kindness, being genuine, the opening doors for other people, like going out of her way to make sure that other people are succeeding. So yes, this is the Sophia show right now. So let's just say, yay, we all love Sophia. This is the Sophia show. Which I mean, like, and by far, like Sophia and Otis, like by the two dearest friends. I mean, like gifts, that I would have never, ever imagined. Sami, you're in this world, but I mean, Sophia and Otis are like my babies. So I'm just gonna say that they're like my babies. I check on them often to make sure they're okay.
Yes, thank you.
So of course, then Otis put out a little something in regards of something that he's working on, and then found out that Sami was involved. So now let's talk about what you guys, so like with all your experiences from the different countries that you're from, that you came together, you met at BGI, you've met so many entrepreneurs and small businesses. What is the project? I mean, again, you start the conversation with this, but then we talk about who you are. So let's just remind everyone, what is it and why did you decide to do it and why now? Okay,
so actually, we started this community called Entrepreneurs of Color, right? And the fundamental goal was to support entrepreneurs who were ethnic minorities, especially in Europe. And Sami and I, we've been talking about this for a long time, and me being in the venture capital space, I understood how very biased it was, or it is, even with BGI. BGI is amazing, but I also realized that we had not supported as many ethnic minority founders there. And you will know this.
I do. I mean, I saw it not only in the entrepreneurs that were coming in, but I was a mentor that was coming in, and I'm like,
yes, and
not that many women, and definitely not that many minorities of color that are mentoring. So if you're a mentor and you're not seeing it, then the people that are applying are not applying because we're not seeing it.
Exactly. And I remember we would have events and maybe it would just be me and you were the only Black people in the whole place. Exactly. So
we added a little bit of color to the place.
Exactly. So, and after some time that gets really uncomfortable, it gets really old. And I realized there's this huge amount of talent, especially in Portugal, that we have a huge Black community. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't understand where there are barriers, because I would have friends who would tell me about their ideas and I'll be like, why don't you apply for this program? So on one hand, they never thought the black community, they never thought many of the founders in the Black community never thought they had what it took to apply in this world, especially in the startups, you know, and I would say partly because perhaps they've also received a lot of no's as well, and they're just like, oh, the game is already rigged as well. So in one way. And the second thing was that there was also not enough information flowing from this particular part of, say, the venture capital opportunities flowing towards them. And, you know, so there's this missing link on this bridge and how we could connect that together. So the thing has been it has been like a burden on my mind for a very, very long time. That is something I wanted to do. And I was just speak of it randomly to Sami, and Sami and I we connect on a level that most other people in BGI might not connect, because first of all we're immigrants, second of all we're Africans. So so there's certain things I would say Sami understands. You know, there's just certain things, and also we racism him being from North Africa, you know, and many might identify him as an Arab person, from Middle Eastern person, and me being Black West African. So there's certain biases that we understand on the levels, and we just realize that this happens a lot. And we just needed to do something. And we've been talking about one fundamental idea, was that we wanted to just share stories of entrepreneurs in our community. You know, we just wanted people to put a face, because you hear the VCs, they have the lingo, we want to support entrepreneurs of color, and it feels like they are just this magical creatures somewhere. But I feel as if they don't really see the people. It has now become like a terminology, like a lingo. They really don't see the people behind. So Sam and I, we've been talking about doing like a docu film for quite some time, you know, and, you know, when we decided to do it, we were like, we didn't have a lot of, we basically did this on zero budget, basically using our own funds. We used basically Sami's camera, and his tripod. You know, we had some microphones which were not working really well, as you tell from the video as well. But we were just like, our motto was work with what you have, work with what you have, and we do what we need to do. Our goal was just to share the stories of these people, and basically to bring them, you know, have regular meetups where we bring them into the same place, and for them just to connect and just for them to collaborate. And God willing, if we had people who are passionate about the cause, invite them as well, let them interact with these people, let them meet the people that, you know, these entrepreneurs. And if something happens out of it, something happens out of it, and we'll be happy and grateful if something does happen about that. So, so I guess we decided to create a short film, and Sami has magical skills. Maybe he might tell you a little bit what the film represents to him. You know, so maybe I pass over to you, Sami.
Yeah, thank you, Otis. Like, first of all, making movies is the dream for me. Like, that's how I want to live my life. It's telling stories to people that can motivate them or change their lives the way some movies changed my life. Like, I know it's a little bit ridiculous maybe to say that the movie changed your life, but that's what happened. Like, you saw something so great that you'd be like, oh, actually, maybe I can change the way I think here, or maybe what I'm doing here is not the same. So yeah, you go there and you think. So I was always trying to make my career out of it, or start my career out of it, I would say. And Otis came with this great idea, and what is better to start making movies than with a story that you really, really, really know, because the movie is about giving chance to more people, to give more diversity, to be more inclusive in here, Portugal at least, or in Europe in general, hopefully, or in the world, hopefully. So if we can open the doors that were closed in front of us, that would be the best thing that I can ever do. That's like the greatest thing I can ever do. So the movie means to me is we are helping the next generation after us. We are opening new doors for other people. And by doing that, I know that in Tunisia, and Africa in general, there is a lot of people who are way better than me, way better than me, who have never got the chance to get out and to explore more their capacities, because, well, maybe they heard the no a little bit and they quit. So maybe that's the problem. But maybe by us opening the doors with this, hopefully with this short film, we can help them to explore their capacities and to exceed their careers. So that's what I want to do with this movie.
Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit to what Sami is saying. So yeah, so the short film was just one of the ways we just wanted to express what we're trying to build here. So we hope to do more multimedia things. So, you know, for example, the short film was just the first of many other multimedia productions we'll be doing to tell the stories of the entrepreneurs, so we can put a face to the entrepreneurs of color, so people can see these entrepreneurs. So we want to shine a spotlight to them. Our goal is that someone will see a film and be like, oh, I would like to collaborate with that person. I would like to put some money into that person's business, you know, and we want to keep on telling more stories of that. But at the background as well, in terms of, in addition to telling stories, you know, of those different entrepreneurs, and also the allies, like you will see from a short film, we wanted to talk about the people that have been passionate about the cause, because we want more people to join them as well. So at the background is that what we're trying to do is that we're also creating meetups. We're also trying to set up workshops where have one-to-one meetings where investors can meet with these entrepreneurs, practical things. So not just having events where people just come, which is usually the practice right now. People just have events and we just have a speaker that just says it's a lot of things, but they don't have any actionable things. So we're trying to create infrastructures whereby actually, real outcomes can come as a result of what we are doing right now. So our dream, would be that at the end of this community building activities that we hear that, oh, I was in touch with the entrepreneurs of color community and I got investments. I met Jodi as a mentor, or I closed my first pilot, for me, and I want to see more entrepreneurs of color receive that kind of support. And, it's not just Black founders, Asian founders, Middle Eastern founders, and we're not even not close to working with white founders as well. But now our focus is more prioritizing Black founders and ethnic minorities who currently have been disproportionately not receiving the amount of support as they should right now.
One of the things that, so I love that you're doing this, because this podcast was designed for the same exact reason, where when the pandemic started in March 2020, I had worked in the media before. And so in 2008, 2009, when the recession happened, my colleagues in the media were asking to, small businesses. I'm like, well, we all know small businesses. They're all around us. But when I'm getting phone calls where, can you give us some small businesses? And I found it to be very odd, but I'm like, okay, sure, I know small businesses. 11 years later, when now the pandemic, and you're hearing about small businesses are dying, startups are dying. I'm like, well, no, that's impossible, because that's everyone. That's the world's economy, where small businesses, you walk out the door, 1 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile, you're going to find a small business that's hustling, and because they're too small to fail. And they refuse to go back. There's no other way for them to live but to create their businesses and make sure that they're succeeding. But we didn't know what they look like. We know Oprah, we know Jeff Bezos, we know all these businesses, but we don't know the dry cleaner. We don't know the laundry guy. We don't know, we'll call it the bodega that's down the street. We don't know the Chinese restaurant. I mean, we don't know the faces, the stories. And for me, that was what I wanted to promote the most. Let's get to know the humans. We forget about the humans. And the most part is we forgot why they did this. So to hear your stories is what I want people to understand, that there's a whole story before a service or before a product or before a business. There's a whole story, and you guys are it. So now you're hearing all these other people's stories. What were the things that stood out to you the most that will really get this momentum of what you're doing to the European community? Because how many startups and how many small businesses, startups did you sit down with, and what are you hearing the most from all of them?
So we had a short time to fill. So we interviewed about 10 entrepreneurs, I believe. I believe so. And I guess the summary of everything was that in terms of trying to improve diversity, there was a general feeling that, we can't be passive about it. We can't just be sitting down and think things will just naturally evolve. We have to all individually take practical, and we have to be deliberate in taking action towards solving questions, And I guess for me, working in 5 years in the startup support ecosystem space is that, when I first got in there, it was on survival mode, just trying to survive, and I became passive, but I realized that being passive, I had to be much more deliberate in trying to make a change. Things were not going to change if I didn't take an action. If I was waiting for someone else to make that change, it might take too long or it might be too late. And luckily for me, I was able to find, somebody, Sami, who was also passionate about the cause, and we're like, let's just do something about it. Let's do it, man. We don't have money, we don't have anything. Let's do it, literally. And we were just walking around town interviewing people, and we were glad enough that a lot of people supported the project. So I would say that's the first thing, is that, and if that's any message, and if we have to pass a passing message, is that, and what I believe these entrepreneurs of colors that entrepreneurs that we've interviewed want to say is that we have to be very deliberate. Nothing in life comes very passively. We have to be very, very conscious. And this also goes for allies. We can't wait for the next person to do it. Whoever is watching this, you have to make a decision. You have to seek out those people yourself. If you want a better world, you can't wait, oh, Black founders are going to find me, because of my brand. No, you have to actively go out and look for those founders if you really believe in the cause for diversity, if you really believe in wanting to make a difference. So I think that's the major thing that I think at least that's my biggest takeaway from interviewing all these different entrepreneurs. I don't know, Sami, do you have any?
Yes, I remember when we interviewed one of the people, I don't remember who exactly, but he said that when people start doing something that what we are doing right now, they get tired after a while and they give up, fighting for diversity or inclusivity. And we should, I think it was Oziyama who said this, we should train more people to get into the cause, and they train more the next generation, and include a lot of people to fight toward more diversity and inclusivity. And this stuck in my head a lot because I think it's very true. Because if it's going to stay only me and Otis, eventually, no matter what we do, we are outnumbered. So we're going to fail and we're going to hear the no. So what we need to do is to get more people, and the allies need to hear us, I wouldn't say invite us, but at least hear us, look at us, try to search, try to find, even in your own company, if you have some minorities, or if you don't, just recruit some people, and don't recruit them just because they are minorities. Don't do that. Recruit people who are high qualified but also minority, because if you're going to recruit someone who's not high qualified, it's going to fail, and it's going to be backlash on the cause. It's not going to be good for the cause. So yeah, that's what's stuck in my head out of all of this.
Yeah, I think also that okay, I don't know, Joe, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think also one of maybe another takeaway to what Sami was saying is the fact that the entrepreneurs, we are all different. When they think of entrepreneurs of color, they always usually associate it with Black. And what we try to do for the film is that we have people from Latin America, people who some people were actually, they appeared white, but their father was Black. So they actually, and I think it's really important that there's a spectrum. And I think it's really important for us to embrace that spectrum of entrepreneurs who identify as Black, Brown, Asian. Our goal is to support anybody who feels like they are not getting the support because of their of what color they identify as. We want to support those people, and I think that's what we try to do. We try to make sure that there's different. There's a spectrum of entrepreneurs of color, and this is who they are. They come from different places. They come from Peru, they come from Benin, they come from Nigeria, they come from Tunisia, and they are here. They just want a better life for themselves. They just want a better life for their family. We're all just here, and very interesting that we all have certain things in common. We are all, and I think this is one of the most interesting things that I heard, from, especially I think was Jonas, was talking about that the truth is that the reality is that everybody has the same struggle. Fundamentally, you're going to have somebody who's going to die in your family. You're going to have people who you're going to love. You're going to have breakups. You're going to have different people who are going to fall sick. And what everybody just dreams about is just to have a life where we can just breathe, where we can just enjoy ourselves, we can just chill. Everybody just wants a life where they can just have a roof over their head and just relax and not worry that, worry where the next minute is going to be, where, their next paycheck is going to come from. We just want to just have a better life for ourselves. And we just want everybody to have the opportunity to get that better life. I guess in the biggest scheme of things, I think that's what the whole story is telling about. That we have a lot in common, and we all need to collaborate deliberately to make sure that everybody is happy, everybody has an equal seat at the table.
I watched the documentary. It launched this past weekend, which was so wonderful. I was so excited about it. And that was one of the things that stood out to me automatically. I love the diversity, the rainbow of everyone that was there. And people forget. And people forget that, especially in the United States, because it's so black and white on so many different things, but people forget that brown comes in many shades, many shades. I always sit there and say, especially during the summer, I always say, I'm 50 shades of brown at any given time. You just don't know. And I have a wonderful friend, and she is Haitian, and she's white with red hair, and people are like, she's not Haitian. Literally, they're like, she's not Haitian. I'm like, 100% Haitian. She's Haitian. And when you go to Haiti, you see every single shade. I go to different countries. When I went to Portugal, I noticed, all the different shades of people that I notice, but I think that I'm programmed to see you. I think that there are so many times I meet up with people and they're like, I go, well, we don't have that much minorities in Boston. And I'm like, where are you looking? Or when people are like, I go, well, Boston is racist. I go, but I live in Massachusetts. And so people are always very like, I only see this and I don't see this. So when I was looking at the video, the documentary, I should sit there and say, I love that there was so much, like you offered so much to so many people in regards of the different cultures, in regards of the different stories. I mean, there's just so much richness to the story, but also you can hear the pain in people's voices. What is the, like you were saying how the allyship is something that you really would like to focus on, but what is the bigger picture for the future of something that either what you're doing or what other people can learn from what you're giving out? What is the future of where do we go from now? You know, we're sharing the stories, we're talking about how hard it is. There's definitely some peaks and valleys of being an entrepreneur in Portugal, being an immigrant, being from another country and not feeling that you're being seen or you're being heard. So in your opinion, outside of your documentary, with your documentary as well as outside of it, what do you think the future of being an immigrant from another country coming into Europe or Portugal, and you want to create a business, you want to create something, what is your future looking like, or what should it look like in your opinion?
So I think it's definitely, I think there are a lot of allies, for example, who are identifying that, you know, it's okay to collaborate with people who don't necessarily look like them. So I think there's becoming much more awareness, and I hope our short film, our docu film, also helps to shine a special spotlight to show that, you know, you can do more. You know, it's okay to be diverse. You know, so I think in the future we are definitely moving in the right direction. Generally, I still feel there are several roadblocks that are ahead of us, and like Sami said, it's important that we don't get exhausted. And to be honest with you, right now, Sami and I basically we're doing the film, and during the process of the film, you can imagine, you know, we were really tired, we are really exhausted. You know, myself this weekend, I'm feeling a bit of exhaustion because of all the work that I've put in. You know, we've put in, you know, we were literally every day, almost every day, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the night, editing videos and things like that, going around, you know, carrying cameras and, you know, trying to meet up with meetings. So it's really, really exhausting. So I think we need more people to join the cause. If you are passionate about this, you know, you can something as little as, you know, I don't know, tweeting or coming for an event or referring somebody to somebody, you know. Believe it or not, every referral makes a whole difference, you know. And if big corporates are watching this, for example, you know, something as, you know, having a conversation with us, like how can we help you, you know, not just, you know, but even financially, for example, you know, how can we support the cause financially, you know, how can we give you a bigger platform to do what you need to do. I think that's really, really important as well. But at the end of the day, I think individually, we all have to make certain deliberate decisions on how can we help the next person. So Sami and I, we've been put in a position where we now have some sort of privilege by being in Europe, by working for an organization like BGI. We have amazing contacts, you know, because we have amazing contacts. We know a few people here and there. And one of the things we've decided to ourselves is that we're going to help the next man up. And I think it's really, really important for all the immigrants across Europe that if you're in Europe and you have some sort of good job, you have some sort of privilege, it is your responsibility to help the next man up. That's the only way. That's the only way we can push this forward. If you don't help the next person beside you to get in a better position as you, or even better than you, then your privilege is, you know, I wouldn't say in my opinion, it's a waste. So, and I guess that's the whole idea of working hard to help people around you to make our society better. So I'll say if you start from that way, every immigrant or every entrepreneur of color, if you find out that you have some sort of privilege, make sure you use that privilege to do something good. And I guess that's why we always talk about, you know, if you don't identify with an ethnic minority, if you have some sort of privilege and you know you have this sort of privilege, make sure you use that privilege to bring somebody up. Don't let it be just for you. Don't let it just be for you just to become rich and wealthy and have status. It's very liberating. It's very rewarding when you see somebody you've helped be in a better position and they in turn do the same thing for another person. It's so fulfilling.
Well, that is something like where like, I was always taught where, why would you learn so much? Like, I mean, like literally like build all these skill sets in your industry and not share it by mentoring someone else. because you're going to die with that knowledge. And the only way that your legacy stays is if you constantly share it out. So you're learning everything. So and like as you're learning it and as you're funneling it and as you're making it your own, it's time to give it back out there. So it is one of those moments where why work so hard to get to a certain level and not help the other person get there that much faster, that much quicker. So I 100% agree with you. I want to add to that question in regards to what were the, and I have to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the word ally. I mean, it's just like I go, at the end of the day, there are people out there, I go, these as a marketing person, like I go, can we throw, you're just throwing out another word, but there are the human beings out there. So, because there are people like, what does ally mean? There are the human beings that are willing to help or are not willing to help. But what were you hearing the most from people that you're approaching that were the experts, that are the VCs, the angels, the big companies? What were you hearing from them in regards to, hey, are you guys hiring or engaging with entrepreneurs of color?
So I think, right. So I guess you wanted to know what the corporate landscape is in terms of like their support for entrepreneurs of color, right? In say, for example, in Portugal. So I think it is similar to the way it is in the US, and the rest of Europe. There's always that bias. And I feel, people, especially in the corporate landscape, have made it more of a marketing thing to support entrepreneurs of color rather than doing the work, or they've done those things to make themselves have a better public image rather than actually doing the work of, because we know the work of helping to build a community, it's really, really hard. At least Sami, we know this, trying to bring people together, it's really, really hard work, and many of them are not prepared to do that. I think,
but also because they're afraid to say something on camera. I mean, like in true reality, there are a lot of people. I mean, because you had and I can't recall the gentleman. There was a gentleman that was in the park, and then there was Sophia, were the individuals that weren't entrepreneurs, but they were talking on behalf. They were talking in regards to what they do. And I'm sure, I think there was someone else, I can't recall right off the top of my head. But I mean, people are afraid to say something on camera because they feel that they're going to get attacked. And so the individuals that aren't afraid are the ones that are actually doing it. So I wanted to hear more. Did you get a lot of, I'm not interested in doing this. Oh, I'll help you in every other way. Or did you get people like saying like, absolutely, I'm in?
Yes, so we didn't, to be honest with you, we didn't even try reaching out to any corporates, to be honest, to be fair, because we understood there was going to be a lot of no's in that regard. So we didn't even bother trying in the first place. In the future, I guess building on what we've decided to build right now, more corporates might get comfortable with what we do. But, the people that we called once, for example, like people from Made of Lisboa, which is essentially the municipality, it was just yes. But like, it's no better, because I understood they've been, especially my contacts there, have been really, really passionate about this cause. And, anytime I make a phone call, they're like, yeah, what can we do to support you in that regard? So I would say, for example, with the municipality of Lisbon, for example, and particularly Made of Lisboa, and the leadership of João Pedro Martins there, he has always been very, very upfront about what he wants to do. There's nothing I've called João for that he hasn't done, that he wouldn't do. I'll be like, João, I need this for my community. He'll be like, okay, don't worry, it's done. So people like that, they always, people like Violetta Shekan, I will call, I want you to help us do this. She'll be like, yes, I'll be there. Oh, and Sophia, there's nothing I'll tell Sophia I want to do today that she wouldn't do. She'll just be like, okay, tell me, place, time, what do you need? And it's done. I don't even need to think too much about it. So those are the people that we reached out to be honest with you. So I know now, now that we're getting much more momentum, we're definitely going to reach out to more corporates to see how they want to support and, and have proper like infrastructure to support the community. I know there's going to be no's along the way, and that is fine. We are already built for this. But we also hope,
you guys are very, very built for no's, I must say.
Yes, exactly. So we expect to be this, and we hope that in the future we would see people who would want to collaborate with us to help bring the community better. And I guess we want to have a starting point. So now that we've started this, we're hoping more people see the film and be like, you know what, we can get behind this community. We can do something to support this community, and that would be great.
Sami, you are actually, again, you have been in Portugal a shorter period of time than Odish. How did you find the community, and how did you guys find people to come in? Did they know you already, or do you live in a specific place? Do you hang out with, in different areas where there are startups, and so how did you, outside of BGI, how are you building that community for yourself, and how are you finding the people that spoke on this documentary?
Well, in general terms, like the people from Tunisia, at least from the Arabic world, when they come to Portugal, they will ask, "Oh, who do I know that is in Portugal already?" So they will say, "Okay, Sami is there, so go." I'll show them around Lisbon. Now I'm tourist guide, by the way, so I show them around Lisbon, and we talk, and I tell them about the community that Otito has the idea, and we talk about, and then we meet people like that, and they know someone from another place, from Egypt, for example, or from Africa in general. And we just get bringing together like to the next event from Entrepreneurs of Color, and that's how all of us get together and meet. So yeah, that's how it is. Also, by meeting people on events with BGI, I met a lot of people who are not Africans, I would say, yes, but from other minorities, from Iran, from India, Pakistan, places like that. That we speak about this kind of things. We speak about the challenges that they face coming to Portugal. And the thing that I want for the future myself, like, is when someone comes to Portugal or to Europe in general, they find a way or platform or community that, like Entrepreneurs of Color, where they can just blend in without feeling that they don't belong here. I want people to feel like they belong here. Because to be honest, eventually, I don't believe a lot in that belonging or not belonging. Like, we are all humans eventually. Like, we should all belong together. And the fact that there is barriers between us is bad. So I would like that barrier to disappear between all people. I know it sounds a little bit corny, but that's what I really want, is that like that barrier to just disappear. And by doing this, hopefully more people will know about what Entrepreneur of Color is or get behind it. And we just, whenever someone comes from wherever place in the world we just help them to feel that they are home. They don't have to feel like we are just like, away from all this community. And because when we have two communities in one country, that make problems, because these people will be afraid of these people and vice versa. So I just want people to blend them together. Also, as Otis said, while making this movie, we felt super exhausted. But myself, at least, I would say, I was so happy. I was so happy making the movie. Like, I was super tired. I was not sleeping like 2 hours. Also, it's Ramadan while making the movie, so it was double the trouble. So, but I was so happy making it because I felt like, first of all, I'm making a movie. I was like, whoa, finally. Second of all, I was like feeling like I'm telling great stories from great people. Like, shout out to everyone who was in the movie. And I wish you were in the movie, actually. I told Otis that I want Jodi in the movie as well.
Next one we're going to do.
Yeah, so I was so
I look forward to my cameo. Yes.
I was so happy making it, and I'm actually right now I'm looking forward to making more and more like this, and hopefully better, with better equipment, with better more time at least to do it, because we did the whole movie in 20 days, between recording with people, between editing, between publishing, creating the poster. In 1 hour I created the poster, so the whole thing was like in a rush, but it came out good enough. I would say I'm happy with it.
I have to say, but I say the creativity behind someone that is passionate about something is mind-blowing. I mean, during the pandemic, we clearly saw individuals that were literally creating things off of their phone. And they were like movies or just like action-packed. I mean, look, people, when you have the time and when you are passionate, and yes, you were exhausted, your school, work, I mean, like filming and talking to people. I mean, but when you're passionate, it's like this whole entire level of endorphins that come into you that you're like, this is better than coffee. This is better than anything I could ever do, because I'm so focused on getting the story out there. I have two more things for you, because it's your afternoon. It's afternoon now for me, but it's now going into your evening. So I definitely don't want to take too much more of your time. But funding. These entrepreneurs are battling two things. They're battling number one of like, can you just give me a moment of time, despite what country I come from, despite what color I am, give me a moment of time to show you that I am knowledgeable, that I'm an expert. But then on top of that is the funding aspect. So someone may believe in you, but they may not give you the money. Where do you think how does that convert? Because in Massachusetts, if you're working or talking with minority-owned businesses, they say over and over and over again, we will like literally live in Massachusetts. We will live in New England, but we'll go to California, we'll go to Atlanta, we'll go to Texas, we'll go somewhere else to get funding, because we cannot get funding in the Northeast because of our race. So what is happening in Portugal, in Europe, in regards of, yes, a supporter has your back. They'll mentor you, they'll give you everything that you need, but they will not give you funding. How is the funding situation changing? Is it getting better or is it getting worse in Europe?
So I think I won't say it's getting worse, because every day I see new funds popping up to support diverse communities. I guess in the next few years, we will know if they really invested in diverse entrepreneurs or not. But right now, it seems to be the thing. So every now and then you see they are looking to, and there's several initiatives out there to say they're supporting entrepreneurs of color and so on and so forth. And I guess time will tell who was actually doing what. So right now, I don't particularly have a lot of data as to what the landscape is. All I know is that there are a lot of things popping up right now. But I would say that one of the important things is that there's this divide, or it feels like there's this curtain, even with those initiatives, I realized that these initiatives led by, for diverse communities led by, for example, white males, I don't want to support diverse communities, when Black founders see that there's this skepticism, like, are they really trying to support the entrepreneurs, or are they trying to do this for marketing purposes? I said that to say that if really those individuals are serious about supporting entrepreneurs of color, they need to have people in decision-making roles within their organizations to support this kind of causes. And I think that would be the first step to signal to the communities, to the entrepreneurs of color community across Europe, that they are serious about what they are doing. It's not just a marketing gig as well, right? But I'm not seeing a lot of that right now, to be honest with you. It's just very rich people come together and they feel, okay, we're going to put aside some money to do this because, the data says this, but, and they just have that money, but they find it hard to attract the right kind of entrepreneurs to their fund, for example, or to even pass across the message. For example, when they have this announcement, it usually shows on media like maybe like tech.eu, and the truth is that many of the entrepreneurs in my community don't necessarily consume media from those platforms in the first place. So who are they marketing to? Who are they telling this information to? So there's that divide. So essentially what we are trying to do is to sort of capture all of that information and pass it across to our people. Like, okay, this exists, and I think that's the major thing. There's this misflow of information, I would say that, and I think that's the real problem, So, and I think if that is also addressed to, in addition to having key decision makers who can signal to the entrepreneurs of color that yes, we are serious, but also trying to address that information barrier per se, and essentially by supporting communities like ours, for example, because every time we gather, we have entrepreneurs from different places, in Lisbon, from Iran, from Egypt, from Tunisia, from Nigeria, and they're all there collaborating, and they're all saying the same thing, so, and and we're just doing this out of nothing, so they need to identify communities like ours and support them if they are really serious about trying to support diversity, and that's just the truth.
I think that's one of the things where we are not seeing enough of individuals that are not only just saying it, but doing it. And I think that and that's just like, I believe that is across this entire globe. I mean, I'm very lucky that I get to travel the world post and pre-pandemic. I'm traveling around the world and I'm hearing the same conversations, but I'm also knowing and meeting individuals that are doing it, walking the walk, which is so, it inspires me that we're going to be okay. It inspires me just to even talk to the two of you and just hearing the amounts of times that you're hearing the no's, and yet you're still so committed and so engaged in making sure that an entire community is really going to get some leverage. Now, will it be everyone in the community? Absolutely not. It won't be everyone, but if you can get at least 2 or 3 individuals, or 4 or 5 or 10 or 100 individuals that are able to be seen, then you've done your job. I mean, that in itself is a reward. Or even just like someone watching the documentary and saying like, oh, I never thought about that. Let me look into my company and let me fix that. So what you guys have decided to do, I think that is absolutely amazing, where it is so commendable, and it's so needed. And even people, because I saw people on the online that were, they were like chiming in from all different countries. And I think that in itself was so amazing that you had people from all these different countries watching the documentary, which was really, really, really cool. Sami, I love was dad or grandpa. I love that someone was just like, I'm just gonna come and get my things. See, this is a good thing about Zoom. Life happens. We are like we said, life happens, which is so cool. All right, so you guys gave me so much of your time. You opened up the conversation of not just, because you hear about racism, you hear about like the startups not being seen or funded in the States all the time, but you're not hearing it as much in other countries. And so I think that's one of the things where we need to discuss it in the startup community on a global level, where let's make sure that the best entrepreneurs are being seen, because those entrepreneurs and that funding can literally change the way that the world is being utilized. Like their service or their product it could be an absolute game changer for so many people. So I love that you're doing this. But this is the moment we've come to an end. But it's not the last conversation. We'll definitely have more conversations in the future. But I always end every single conversation with the same way, where if you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask? And obviously 2 answers from both of you. So who wants to go first?
I mean, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Maybe you can go first and I go after.
Sammy's like, I go, no, you go.
Okay. So professional ask for our community, we need funding. We want to do amazing things. For example, we want to buy new equipment, camera equipment. So Sami can continue to do his magic. And so I can continue to do the logistic things as well. We do need funding to be able to do some initiatives. We are doing meetups. We want to do workshops as well. We want to be able to get the best speakers to speak to our community. We want to have a lot of one-to-one meetings. We have a bunch of events. We're also collaborating with other communities here as well in Portugal. So a lot of that has to do with funding. We hopefully would like to hire some staff, to who are also passionate and who might want to do this full time as well. So definitely, so anybody that wants to collaborate with us in this regard as well, could let us know. It doesn't have to also necessarily be financial support per se. It could also be, okay, we are hiring. We want you to pass across this information to your community. We want to do a special training. We have a special offer that you think would be beneficial to your community. Please let us know. Like the other day, somebody said that anything you want to do online, we have a special video platform that you can always leverage on us. We will give it to you free of charge. And I was like, that is amazing, So things like that. So that I would say that's a professional task. If you want an exact figure, maybe they can send me an email. And then I will tell them how much we need to do things. For a personal ask, I guess I just want people to make referrals to what we are doing right now. If you know somebody important that can make a decision, show them our film, let them reach out to us, let us have real conversations. What do you have that you can bring to our community?
Is that I feel that's a professional ask, my friend. You're cheating. You are cheating. So you have to have a personal ask and a professional ask. Let's be very clear. Don't cheat.
Well, a personal ask. I would say that right now I'm in a good place in my life, in different ways. But I mean, if somebody wants to give me more money, that would be amazing. But maybe also a girlfriend. Everybody has been saying that I need to get it. So if maybe that's a personal ask, so my mom will be happy. So if my boo is out there, shout out to your boy.
Sami, what's yours?
Well, on the professional aspect, I would like to see more people who are trying as hard as we do, or more than us, to grow this community. Like people, like passionate people, to come to us and push with us, like push us to do more. Actually, that's what I want. I want people who are gonna work for free like us and work night and day just to do something that no one's gonna even say thank you for doing. That's what I want. And as people Otis said, I want funding, of course, like people to support us with money so we can keep doing this more and more, and maybe hopefully we can achieve to the level where we make it. Like we can say that, okay, we have supported 10 people, 20 people to get their dreams through by just doing this community. Yeah, so on that aspect, I would like to say, again, that I wish that we can just break all those barriers between people. We are, after all, just humans. Like the thing that I noticed, because I lived most of my life in Tunisia, and most people are just like me. So I never had those barriers when I was in Tunisia because I was naive enough. But when I went to Portugal, what I realized is we're just humans. Like you speak someone from Russia, someone from America, for someone from no matter where in the world, they are the same. Even the jokes, how they with the jokes is the same. We have some differences, of course, but eventually the core is just the same. And good people are good people no matter where they are from, and people are bad people no matter where they are from as well. So let's just try our hard to just break those barriers and get together. For the personal aspect, I would say I would like to make more movies. So if someone who wants to give me money to make more movies, please bring it on. I would love to have that. I would like to support my family more. And I just want to be happy. I just want to have fun in my life like I'm doing right now. I don't want any stress. I just want to be chilling.
and that's just what I'm all about. I just want to have fun. I mean, I want to continue to meet amazing people like you. I mean, like, again, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of that you guys decided to do this. I'm so proud of the fact that you have such a large community that was engaging with you, from the people that you met that were in the film, to the people that are behind you, to the Sophias of the world. I just love the fact that you guys have made a commitment to give back, and give back on a high level. I mean, literally, like some people just give back where like I go, I'll just mentor for an hour. Giving back on this level is such like a higher, deeper focus, which I'm so proud of you. And that's what makes me happy. It makes me happy that the people that I've chosen to have in my world aren't just content with just the minimum. So bravo to the both of you guys, which I'm so happy about. Quick thing, you mentioned we'll call it workshops and things like this. Do you think this, from this one moment of the documentary, it will spin out into a company, or will this just be a social group? Like what, meaning where do you think, or where would you want it to go from this point?
So yes, we are thinking hopefully this could be an organization, and a formal organization that will support entrepreneurs in the future. We are trying to build as fast as we can with the resources that we have right now. So eventually, as we are starting to build much more structures. We've had a couple of meetups, but now we're trying to start our first workshops coming soon. So we want to be doing meetups every month. We will be having workshops maybe once every month as well. But in terms of telling the stories of entrepreneurs, we'll be doing this as frequently as possible. The more people have, the more resources we have, the more volunteers, like Sami said, we have. We will be able to do this kind of tell more of this kind of stories. So yes, the goal is to have a formal organization. We're also trying to build a platform right now, a digital platform. So maybe an app as well that sort of connects, if you need to find entrepreneurs, like a database or a directory where you can find entrepreneurs of color. So if you're an investor, and once you invest, you can go on our platform. You can search for the category of investments you want to make, and you can find this kind of entrepreneurs just tailored towards entrepreneurs of color. So that's something we are building right now. So eventually that should come up in a couple of months, hopefully.
I love it. Oh my God, congratulations, movie makers, storytellers, engagers. Thank you for taking time just to be on the podcast. Thank you for always saying yes to me when I ask for things. You guys are great. Because I will always say yes to you guys. So that's, we would
always say yes to you. You can you tell us when you say yes. I know I came a minute late, but I will always say yes to you. Like, how would we say no?
No, I mean, I'm so proud of your passion, and it's a story that people are hearing on a very, very small level, especially in the United States. We're in our own bubble on many things. We're in our own bubble, and we have our own problems here in the United States. But it is it's really good that the conversation, especially in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, is literally in the forefront. And I love that you guys are bringing it to the forefront in a whole different way. So congratulations. Thank you. We're going to say goodbye here right now. So we can say goodbye, and I know where to edit. This is great. But stay on the line because I want to talk to you guys offline. Okay. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.